Hey everybody, welcome back to JVH-Comix. I'm Julian, and today I'm going to talk about the 3-act structure. This is a very basic and very old setup to telling a story. So what we got here right now is the 3 acts. We got Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. So I'll first start off by talking about the hook. The hook is the first part of your story. It's what gets the story going, and more importantly in comics, it's what gets the people to pick up the issue that you're writing. This usually is the front cover or a splash page right in the beginning of the story. This is usually very dramatic, very actiony, but a lot of people open up in either a question or maybe some kind of danger. So what I'm showing on screen right now is a hook for the Amazing Spider-Man issue 24. This one is, I really like this cover. It's a really interesting cover. It gives you kind of like a question, it gives you some drama, makes you think, what's going on with Spider-Man? Why are the bad guys looking weird? Why is he upside down on the roof? And it really makes you want to go and pick up this issue. You want to see what Spider-Man is doing and what he's going to do to solve that issue. So I'd say that is a good indicator of opening up in action or drama, and also kind of giving us a question. Other things you want to do in this act is starting the Inciting Incident. This is the event that gets your character to get going in the story. It gives us a action for our heroes to kind of fight against, or it gets something so our heroes get into drama or dilemma. Usually that starts off by a bad guy coming in and upsetting everything, and or some ordinary guy gets in some kind of situation that's way over his head but needs to solve. A lot of times, like I'll give you an example, in crime drama, usually what starts off the story is some kind of crime and the detectives need to solve it. In a superhero issue, as they're fighting for the common good, it is normally a villain who comes and tries to upset the common good, tries to steal, tries to kill, and the hero must then stop them. Now, this doesn't always have to be big action stories. A lot of other stories that I've read, like example, Outcast was a really good comic that I read. I only read the first issue, but in that issue, the inciting incident was the character having run-ins with demons. And that sort of gets him into the story because there's not really a way to run away or ignore the demons. They're kind of part of his life, and he wants to fix that. Make sure you get this started early. This is what's going to push your comic and get people to keep reading. The other thing we want to do is talk about situation and conflict. We want to know where this takes place, when this takes place, what kind of setting. We want to know who our protagonist is. We want to know what the protagonist is fighting against, and we want to know what is at stake for the protagonist. Those are some questions that could help you get started to writing a good situation or a conflict. The other thing is a MacGuffin. This is a type of terminology used by Alfred Hitchcock. It's basically what the hero and the villain are fighting against. I have a picture right here of another Spider-Man comic, and the MacGuffin in this one is a vial of radioactive isotope. And what's interesting about a MacGuffin is that the narrator or the writer doesn't really care about the MacGuffin, but the heroes and the protagonists, the characters in the story, need to care about the MacGuffin. That is very important about that. So in this one, the radioactive isotope, Dr. Octopus wants that to create new evil things, and Spider-Man wants that to cure his aunt. So that is what gets them in motion. Spider-Man and Dr. Octopus are now fighting over this vial of stuff that we don't normally care about, but since they care about it, now we care about it. That should be good for Act 1. That will start your story off, get everything kind of neatly situated to move on to Act 2. In this act, we bring out the unexpected. We pull something in front of the hero to make him lose, to make him seem like he cannot win. We want to complicate the protagonist's life. put an obstacle in front of them. In superhero comics, is usually the protagonist getting beat up by the villain. The villain is stronger, the villain is smarter, and the hero cannot stand up to him. So this gives us a sense of drama. This gives us a sense of the obstacles that he's fighting that are very powerful. We want them to seem powerful. So when the protagonists, in the end, triumph, which is usually what happens, it makes the feat seem very heroic. Normally, I forgot to mention, usually at the end of the acts, you want to have some kind of action or plot development happen. This keeps the readers interested. In superhero comics, you'll have a lot of fight scenes. There'll usually be a fight scene in the first act to kind of demonstrate powers, demonstrate what the hero is. Act 2 fight scene is usually him fighting a stronger enemy, usually the main central villain, right? So right here is some pictures of Act 2. This is the bad guy fighting. This is another Spider-Man issue. I know a lot of mine are Spider-Man. That's because I've been reading this recently. But in this one, the Scorpion is a hero, and we see that he is far stronger than Spider-Man. His webbing doesn't stick, and he punches harder and hits harder than Spider-Man does. This is another part of that same one. And we see the hero struggling to fight, and we see the hero eventually losing this part. This is pretty early in the comic. It's about page 11, so it's halfway through. And we see that the Scorpion is a very, very formidable match for Spider-Man. This creates a lot of tension, a lot of drama for the story, which is really, really good to get your readers invested in your story. So that's it for the first 2 acts. Now Act 3 kind of wraps everything up nice and neat. Everything should be leading to a final confrontation, final action scene between the hero and the villain. The villain could be a person, it could be nature, it could be some kind of machine, but we need some kind of final confrontation for the hero to go against. This is usually where the hero comes out and comes with some kind of bout of courage or sudden intellect or using sheer willpower to solve his biggest problem. This is where the hero looks very, very heroic. We want to have the action, that's the part right there, that's the final action scene, and that will close off the 3rd act, and that is the climax of the story. This is where you want to have the biggest action, the biggest kind of drama to make your story really great, have a really powerful impact on the reader. So this is the final scene in that same Spider-Man comic I was talking about with the Scorpion. This is at the end where Spider-Man reaches inside himself, musters up some willpower, and outsmarts his foe by spraying down the sticky webbing, and is able to rip off his tail, which was a great source of the Scorpion's power. Eventually, Spider-Man is able to beat the Scorpion and put him in jail, and that's kind of like the biggest climax of the whole story. Last part is very important. It's a little short, but it's very important, is the denouncement. This is usually about a page. In comic books, you only have about 23 pages, so the denouncement is very, very short. This is where we answered some unanswered questions in the throughout the comic, throughout the story. Anything that seems like it's kind of left hanging, you can finish off by having people talk. This is usually where we calm down. The climax is the very tippy top of emotion, and we want to bring that back down so the readers aren't left at this high emotion, to bring it down to kind of close the story. It lets the readers close, calm down, and get ready for the next issue. This is especially where we want to show change of the character. The best characters are the ones that change. If the character doesn't change, maybe somebody else changes, some kind of scenery, but we want to show what impact the problems that the hero had, what impact that had on him, and what changed. So this is what a denouncement page would look like. It's very calm after the storm. This one, Spider-Man or Peter Parker is talking to Aunt May, talking to Betty, and kind of getting a close on everything. This wraps everything up in a nice, neat little bow, and it helps the reader to wind down and have the story with a close. It doesn't feel like the story abruptly ended. This is able to close it off nice and neat. That's pretty much it. That's the 3-act structure. Very, very simple. Now I want you guys to know that this isn't a set in stone method. If your story requires something else, something to be changed, something different, please feel free to do that. This is to help anybody who is having trouble starting their story, having trouble writing their story. This is a very, very solid structure to be able to start with. And just a little tip kind of at the end right here. I wanted to show a way to start a story from an idea. So this is a way to take ideas and make them into fully fledged stories. What you want to do is you want to start off with an idea that you have, usually like the ending, some kind of cool climax scene that you want. So an idea that I had is very, very simple. A hero beats the villain, right? So we could take that anywhere. The hero beats the villain on top of a big water tower. The hero beats the villain by outsmarting him. And so we take that and we say, okay, well, where can I go from that? How can I approach this setting right here that I want? And so I'll say, well, the hero beats him with intellect because he loses his powers. He used to be strength, but now he has to use his mind. Well, why are they fighting? The hero finds a ring that the villain stole that the hero had. So this kind of sets up everything to kind of approach neatly to this idea that I had where I want the hero to fight and beat the villain with a sort of intellect, and at the very end the hero gets the girlfriend because, you know, it's nice to give the hero nice things. If you have cool ideas that you don't know how to start, please use this method. Work backwards. It's so easy, and it's really, really, it's a really good way to keep a story flowing smoothly and not have any jarring plot holes because you weren't sure where to go. This helps set up everything along the way. So I want to thank you guys for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Please subscribe if you like my content. I'll be uploading more how-to videos. If you guys have any suggestions, let me know. I'd love to help out. All right, have a good day.